attached to the Carers Centre, is to try and look at improving my practice. So what I've done for this paper is I've interviewed or I've recorded conversations. I think interview is a bit strong. And what I've tried to do is look at the pooling of energy. So this is a picture that I drew when I was 18. And it was in one of my diaries, and I was looking at the fact that actually when we start to speak to one another, when we start to have conversations, we start to pool in energy, and this is how I try to get the image to show that pooling of energy. I'm sure you've all been in a conversation where you come in perhaps feeling a bit tired, and you have a conversation, you start to share the different ideas that you're having, and by the end of it you come away and you feel energised, and you think, yes, I feel much better than I did when I came in. So that was what I was trying to get across in this picture, and this is what I'm trying to get across in my research, is that there must be something that happens in that when we're coming together and we're bringing our energies together. And I'm really interested in what is that, and how can we kind of look at that, how can we measure it, how can we observe it. So what I've done is I've spoken to kind of 4 people that are attached to my organisation. So this is Georgia Mellon, she's my chair, and she supervises me. So she spends quite a lot of time with me. I've been at the organisation for 20 months, and I've been leading it through quite an amazing amount of change, really. When I came in, I wanted to see things happen. I wanted to see things improve for carers. I wanted to make sure that the organisation was carer-centred. So I've kind of come up with, through my research, through these conversations, through the work that I've been doing for a number of years, or certainly 20 months with this organisation, and before that I was a young carers manager in the same locality. So I've been working with carers for a long time, been working in this industry, looking at how we can create a kind of change for carers, and that we can look at this energy that we all bring as practitioners. So I've kind of come up with this a 3-part theory as I've been writing my paper. So the first part of it is a shared and pooled vision and knowing based on personal and professional. So I put a video here, and in my paper you can see all of these videos in full. I'm not going to play them because I've only got 15 minutes. But this is Jill Tubby, she's my administrator. And as we were talking, she was really bringing out that a way that I can improve my practice is to spend more time on the personal, which is something I'm really passionate about, because my experiences come from my personal experience of my life. So when I was young, I was fostered, I was brought up in somebody else's home. My parents had severe mental health issues, schizophrenia, drug and alcohol misuse, a really hard story, if you like. But actually out of that, I've been more motivated, more energised, more passionate about what I do, because that is my story, and that has influenced me, and my continuing caring role for my mum influences me to want to change and make things better for the people that I work with, and a real deep empathy for that. So Jill saying, actually, it would be great to know each other better, not just on a professional level, but on this personal level, which is often a taboo about boundaries in the workplace. That really struck a chord with me and made me feel, yes, this is what I really want to do. To create this energy is to be able to bring this in, so that people can see where my energy comes from, but so I can see where other people's energy comes from, what motivates them, what do they want to do. So that was the first area. The second area is the Google philosophy of creativity, fun, appreciation, and work that is challenging. So as I was going through what the people were saying in the videos, they were saying you create an atmosphere that's enjoyable, it's fun, you work as hard, but it's challenging, but we're enjoying it. You appreciate what we do, and we're allowed to be creative, and this is what motivates us. So this picture here is of Andy, and I'm just going to see if I'm not quite into the embedding yet, so we're going to just see if this works. Yeah, it's going to work. So it's not really about the words here, it's just about, you can see this element of fun. I'll just start that again. And you can just watch it kind of playing in the background. But it's about this element of fun. I've worked with Andy for 6 years. He's worked with me on many projects with carers. And you can just see here, it brings an element of fun. And I think the quote that Andy said is, you're very serious about your work, but you're not serious to work with. You bring an element of humour to your work. And I think that's really important about creating this pooling of energy, because if you can bring that to your work, then you're going to be more energized and you're going to work harder on it. So let's get out of that. Here we go. This is why you should embed it. So, what I wanted to then do is, it just kind of reminded me of what you always hear about Google. You know, Google, they always say it's fun, they're always, you know, and actually one of Google's principles is this idea of bringing fun into your work. But actually it was much more, it was about this creativity, fun, appreciation and work that is challenging, and that just really struck a chord with me. And I kind of thought, if Google, you know, they're so successful, they must know something about something, and if, you know, my work perhaps reflects something that Google's doing, that's probably not a bad thing. So I thought I'd take that as my second idea, second principle of this kind of pooling of energy. And the other side was the idea of mindfulness and learning. Now I've been learning Tai Chi for 4 years, and that's really influenced me in being able to maintain some energy for the work that I do. I don't know if you guys get this, but I'm always running at high speed, always go, go, go. My mind's always going, and the first thing that ever kind of got me to a place where I could actually, it's not stopping, but it's actually just allowing things to kind of go past and not being carried away with them, was Tai Chi. And when I found that, it was remarkable. And the idea of Tai Chi is a very Eastern idea of energy. You can hear more, I'm sure, from Jikan later. But that to me was a kind of opening up of a different type of energy, rather than my kind of Western 100 miles an hour energy. It was about being able to kind of come back to energy and bringing it back into you. So what I've tried to do is to allow people to kind of be in the space that they're in, to be in the moment and not always thinking about the future, not always trying to gallop ahead, which is what we always do in the Western world, but actually creating spaces where they can be mindful, where they can just stop. And we've done that through some meetings that we've done that through being able to have conversations with each other, having some time for people just to think about where they are at that moment in time and be in that place. And also being able to do Tai Chi at lunchtime, so I've been doing some just half an hour Qigong with the staff, so that they can actually just replenish their mind and heart and actually regain the energy in that way. And also about learning and enabling people to be nurtured and to enable them to be able to kind of just be able to take the time to learn and reflect and think about what it is that they actually want to develop, and supporting each other to develop. So creating this kind of space that people can work through. And the person in the video, in the picture here, and again this is a sort of video conversation in my paper, is Lydia. She's one of our carers officers, so she works directly with the carers in the organisation. And her comments really were about the fact that I was able to kind of bring together the staff to be able to support them to have a space for development, be able to follow the things that they were really passionate about, which created again this energy that they were able to follow the passions that they have. So with these three areas, I kind of feel that I've kind of looked at a way that that we can look at how the energy is pulled together, but also I feel that the video, and I've used these stills because they show, I think, a point where energy is being pulled, and that creation is the pooling of dynamic energy that you can see, and even more so in the video, and just being able to kind of pinpoint this area where you can see how we're working together. And I feel, as a chief executive, as a leader of an organisation, that to be able to kind of create this type of energy, this kind of motivation within the staff, that this is kind of then creating a space that people can be energetic and but can also make sure that they're carer-centred, because that's something that was very important to me, that whilst we need to create our own energies to do things, one of the key areas and central points was that I wanted to make sure that we're doing that in order to support the carers that we're working with. So I kind of had 4 aims in my paper. One was to enable me and my staff to put carers at the centre of our practice. And through our conversations, I can see some ways that we can do that better, but I can see that we're already doing it because we've got this same shared vision, and we're all very clear that we've got the same shared vision of putting carers at the centre of our practice. One of my aims was to enable me and my staff to be able to reflect on our personal experience and professional practice to maintain our motivation for keeping carers centred. And actually that's become one of the 3 areas that I think is really important for creating and maintaining that energy. And it was validated by what my staff were saying back to me, that was also important to them. And I wanted to look at how energy affects interactions when we're working with people, and look at the way of measuring energy that motivates us and how we pull energy when we're together. So that kind of has enabled me to use the multimedia presentations to represent that. So it's not just me talking about it, but you can actually see for yourself that this is happening, and what the effects are of those conversations, and looking into the future for future researchers to continue to using those recordings with more staff and actually with carers, and kind of bringing that in so they can all look at how they can see, and so when they're watching it and looking at my comments, that they can actually reflect and see, yes, you know, this is there for them as well. And then the other part was inquire as to how I can create a mindful workforce. So again, it's about that time and space. So I'm really pleased with how the papers kind of come together, because all of those have kind of come together as being really important for creating that energy and that space for the people that I work with. So I'm happy to take questions. I've blown you all away.
So who are the carers?
So the carers, they're people who live in Bath and North East Somerset. So they're people who are family members caring for somebody in their family who is unwell. So our definition, we use the Princess Royal Trust for Carers definition, which is a national charity that we're affiliated with. And it's people who help to support somebody in their family who is either ill, disabled, has a mental health issue, or drug and alcohol addiction. And we work with just over 1,000 carers in the area. So we're supporting them in a number of ways. So we provide them with a kind of an initial support plan, which helps them to be able to identify, you know, where are the areas that they would like support, and they lead that and they own that. And then we also provide them with a number of things that we can support them with in the care centre. So we can give them information, advice, emotional support. We've got a counsellor that works through the care centre. So there's a whole amount of support, but also about getting them involved and having a voice and making a difference to services. So as a centre, we're really trying to empower the carers as well, to make sure that they're having differences made to their lives. And I think, again, going back to where I was in my kind of life experiences, having had that experience of caring for my mum with mental health issues and with drug and alcohol issues, the empathy there with the carers, you know, I really understand what they're talking about. It's not just they're trying to imagine what it would be like, you know, kind of go back to your experience and go, yeah, it's really tough, you know, so.
You talked about the that flow, that passion that you want to bring into that energy between you and your staff. Have you got evidence where that's then reflected in their work? How they're working with the carers, and how the carers then are actually responding to what it is that you're wanting to develop?
Yeah, so I think we're just trying to build together kind of conversations that take place between the staff to look at what they're finding and what their experiences are, and so that they can share that energy between each other. And so creating kind of meetings once a week where we can just have a conversation about what's happening and what they're learning and what they're experiencing. That's enabling some of that energy to kind of come through. And then what I'm hoping to do, and I talk about in my paper, is to try and start bringing a kind of research model into the work that we're doing, not just with the staff, but also particularly through the involvement work, getting carers to make a difference reference to what's happening is to use that kind of action research model to say, actually, where you're looking at what would you like to do here, how would you like to change it, how are you going to change it, and then reflecting on how you've changed it, and then writing a report to say this is what we've done, is really an action research model, and actually making that explicit with the carers to say what you've done here is research, and now you've made a change to a service, and we can actually start that cycle again and go through another action research cycle to say, you know, this is what we've done, this is how we've done it, this is and this is the difference we've made. So I'm really keen to kind of bring that into the centre, and although we're doing it on a unconscious level, if you like, you know, and I can see it in my paper that we've done it, I'm trying to bring that out more explicitly to kind of bring a researching culture into the organisation.
I think we've got time for questions at the end as well. So.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Thank you very much.